from one of the biggest fights and showdowns of this year between the two boogeymen of this division, in my opinion, Levi Rigters and Jamal Ben Sadik. And I really want to talk about this fight for one reason and one reason only, because I've seen this narrative getting spun online that Levi Rigters is a huge favourite coming into this fight. You know, I feel like everybody's saying that he's going to smoke Jamal. I even checked betting odds as well. And Jamal's a huge underdog. I'm talking about huge. I'm not even exaggerating this. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I don't understand why. I feel like everybody is underestimating Jamal Ben Sadik in this fight. I think they forget the experience the man has. They forget the wins, the high caliber wins that he has over elite opponents in Glory. And I just really want to say that this is a much closer fight than people are going to anticipate, that people are anticipating. This could go either way. For me, this is 50-50. I want to talk about how both fighters could win, how they have to fight if they want to win, and who I think personally has the edge going into this fight. I'm going to start with Jamal first. And obviously, Jamal just returned back to kickboxing this year after a 3-year layoff, after suspension. And he came back with two not so impressive performances, I think we can all agree, with Okuyurandao and Ristia. Obviously, he got clear wins for both, you know, it was kind of dominated both fights, but it's not the type of domination that we used to see from him. You know, he got a knockout win over Okuyurandao. Obviously, that's after his arm broke and he just head kicked him and he couldn't block it. And then he cruised to the decision win over Ristia, but it was like he fought two opponents who were clearly not on his level, and it's like he didn't go for the knockout, you know. He wasn't the brutal Goliath that he used to be. Really used to fight like. He fought much more cautious, much more technical, and much more calculated, which it worked in his favour, to be fair. But he can't do that against Levi Rigters, man. You just can't do it, you know. Levi Rigters, in my opinion, is one of the most technical kickboxers in the whole division. I'd say the most technical, if you're not including Rico, the champion. And Saddik has to go back to his old style, man. He needs to go back to the Goliath. Obviously, we saw, I recommend you guys should watch the face-off that they had with Remy Bornyansky asking them questions. And Jamal Ben Sadik knows this, man. He said he's going to go back to his old ways, to his Goliath, the old way he used to fight and the old way he used to get knockout wins, man. I think that's what he needs to do here, you know. He's 34. He's not going to get much technical now, you know. He's learned all his skills now. And he's just not as technical as Richtors, man. So you can't go in there as Jamal Ben Sadik trying to out-kickbox Richtors. Not doing it. Not going to happen. Not going to happen, you know. What he does have over Richtors, though, is strength, you know, size, you know. They're around the same height, but he's much bigger, much wider, you know, heavier. You know, he has the size advantage, the power, the aggression, you know, and the experience. You know, he's fought fights like this before where he's been a big underdog, you know. When he first came into Glory, he had to fight Errol Zimmerman, Remy Bornyansky, and Daniel Guitok all in the same night. And he won two of those, you know, as a 22-year-old. This man has experience, bro. And people are underestimating. They're going to be in a surprise, bro. I think if he comes back as the Goliath, Rex is going to be in trouble, man. But can't come out too aggressive. You know, he should come out aggressive, in my opinion. That should be the game plan for him here. But he should still be wary of Richtors. You know, this isn't a small man that he's facing here, you know. Richtors big, 6'7", and throws a mean overhand there as well. His right overhand catches people, and people don't expect it. You saw he caught Okuyurandao with it, knocked him out, dropped Rico with it in their second fight, buzzed Bahram as well in their second fight with it. So he hurts people with that overhand because people underestimate him usually and don't expect it. But this man, I think Saddik has the experience, man. I don't think he's going to underestimate him. I think he knows what he has to do. He knows he needs to get the job done. With aggression, not too much aggression, you know. Calculated aggression, you know. Coming in volume, throw punches and bunches, combinations. Just big power. Try to put him on the ropes, put him in the corner. And I think that's his best chance of winning, you know. He needs to drop his new style that he's adopted, in his last 3 fights. He needs to drop it completely, go back to his old ways if he wants to win this fight. Because this is his hardest fight since the Rico fights, you know. This is going to be a big test for him. But I wouldn't count him out, man. Like other people are online, how the betting odds are as well. I would definitely not count him out. When we want to talk about Richtors is the man right now. You know, Levi Rigters, #1 contending in the division by a mile. You know, I can't really debate it. He's been fighting the best of the best, really. The best opponent. He just had 2 fights against Rico. First fight, he kind of got dominated. Obviously, got the spinning back fist, almost knocked him out. Couldn't get the job done. Put on a good performance against him in the second fight. Again, wasn't enough, but can't really blame him. It's Rico. He fought good fighters in Bahram, beat Bahram twice, beat Ukuyondao, beat Nico Horta. He's fought good fighters. He's not inexperienced anymore. When these two were first supposed to fight back 3 years ago, this was a very different fight. Richtors was coming in, more of a prospect, not too experienced, not many big fights under his belt. And Saddik was at the top of his game at that point, but a lot of things have changed since then, man. Obviously, Richtors now is at the top. He's the favourite now. He's had big fights, won big fights, got to the final of the Grand Prix last year. Number one contender for a reason, 30 years of age now, has the experience. He has the skill set over Jamal. We all know this, right? More technical, kicks, knees, all of this, all of that. But people forget, this is a fight. This ain't no boxing match. Kickboxing is a different sport to boxing, to all of these other sports. This is more brutal, and it's a fight. And Jamal needs to drag this into a dog fight. But Sadik's been in Richtors has been in dog fights before. He's fought Bahram. Bahram's as aggressive as it gets. He's literally the most aggressive guy I've ever seen in my life. The way he fights like a pit bull on rabies. Who has rabies, but he don't have his power. That's the thing. I don't think Richtors has fought anyone like Saddik. He's fought aggressive people, but he hasn't fought aggressive people that pack a punch like Jamal does. Jamal really hits hard. He knocks people out cold. And I think the best comparison of this fight would be when Jamal fought Adegbuyi the first time in the tournament. He knocked him out with one hand. I think Richtors fights a lot like Adegbuyi, but he hits harder than Adegbuyi. Obviously has a better chin and everything. It's not going to be as easy. Richtors has the skill set. I think Richtors, what he has to do here, I think he knows he can't compete with Saddik in a fight, in a dog fight where they're just exchanging punches. He needs to chop the legs. Leg kicks, from the start, round one. Just throw leg kicks. That way he can stop the momentum of Saddik pushing forward, keep him at a distance. Throw some teeps, some front kicks. Try a flying knee here and there, keep him guessing. Just be unpredictable like he always does. I hope the spotlight doesn't get to him, man. He's still, even though obviously you can see here he's 30 years of age, but he's still a young fighter, He's only 19 wins and 3 losses. He's still a young fighter. He's fought at the big stage before, but he ain't never fought someone like this before, But he needs to chop the legs. And if Saddik does come with the pressure, with the Goliath basically, coming in, trying to throw big punches, overhands, he needs to throw back. He can't get weathered. He can't just sit there on the ropes, just in a high guard. He needs to throw back. He needs to basically stand his ground and gain his respect, Show Saddik that he has power too. He can pack a punch too. This is heavyweights. Anyone can knock anyone out. But overall, this fight for me is 50-50, man. It's 50-50. It can go either way. It depends whose game plan works on the night. Either it's going to be Jamal's aggression, if he does fight like he used to, or it's going to be Richtors' superior skill set. He is just a far better kickboxer, technically. And he's going to try and implement it, of course. The only reason why I personally would favour Richtors in this fight is because we know how he's going to fight, We know what he's going to bring to the table. Richtors, we know he's technical. We know he's at the top of his game, Jamal, not so sure, Last few fights, not impressive. New fight style. Can he still go back to the Goliath ways? Is he as good as he once was? He might be washed. I personally don't think so. I saw the way he was talking in that face-off. There's a conviction in his eyes, He wants to win. He wants to prove himself. I think it's a 50-50 fight. Jamal could get it done. I promise you, Jamal could get it done. I could see Jamal I think Jamal needs a knockout though. If he wants to win, he needs to go there early, put pressure on him and knock him out. Richtors obviously needs to be unpredictable and just mix it up with variety. Kicks, knees, punches, and just outskill him. But could go either way, man. It could go either way. I think this is going to be one of the better fights of the year. Honestly, this fight is going to be amazing. It's not as one-sided as people say. I think it's going to be really competitive. Could go either way. The Moroccan fans will definitely be rallying Jamal on the night. They're always there to support. it's really clear. I would personally edge it to Richtors, but I'm not sure. You know, it's kind of I'm just going with Richtors because he's more of a safe option because we know that he's in his prime right now. You know, and you know how he's gonna fight. But Jamal could get it done, man. And I really wanted to let people know that this is a closer fight because when I saw people saying that Richtors gonna smoke him, I'm like, yo, people are underestimating this Jamal guy, bro. You can't do that with these experienced, strong guys like this, bro. You know, he's fought the best of the best. He's not gonna get flustered now by Richtors. You know, he's not gonna get scared by Richtors. So it could go either way. We'll see who wins. I advise all you to watch. I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think a beautiful main event to end off the card as well. And I think winner of this fight probably gonna be the favorite to win the whole tournament, in my opinion. Can't wait to see it. Till then, stay safe.